Hi, and welcome to Be Your Best. I'm one of the hosts here. My name is Antoinette, and we're glad you joined us. Today, we're going to talk about is it healthy or is it hype? But before we get into that, let me introduce Alan.
Hey, everybody. This is going to be a very interesting show because, we're all about facts here. Well, fats too, but this is facts. And the interesting thing for today's show is stuff that's being marketed, hyped as healthy isn't always healthy. Also in the studio with us today is Mike. How you doing, Mike?
I'm doing great. I appreciate you inviting me to be with you today. This is a topic that's obviously on my mind also.
Yeah,
Good.
this is a good one. So, Antoinette, kick it off.
Okay, so first thing, I own a design agency, and I've done all sorts of labels for all different types of foods for a lot of these big global companies. So just to kind of let people know, there's a whole lot of sales and marketing going into the labels. The only thing that is actually regulated to be truthful is your nutrition facts, and those follow specific guidelines as to what's on there and whatnot. Your ingredients, your ingredient order, but the rest of the label is really marketing. So if you just come at it from that aspect, that a lot of times they'll put these things on there that really don't mean a whole lot or deceiving. Like when you say natural flavors.
Yeah.
What is that?
That's
That
the
could be
big-
anything,
Yeah, it just has to taste like a strawberry.
Yeah,
It doesn't
or-
have to be a strawberry.
No, or like, oh, it's fiber. Ground up wood is fiber. That
Yeah.
could be what they're
Yeah.
adding. Or if I mean, we could go through some of the ones like one of the things that upset me, I think is ridiculous, is they'll, like gluten. Gluten is a keyword that people are, they know gluten is bad, or they might have heard gluten is bad. They don't know why, but then they look for, and they'll be like gluten free, and they'll put like gluten free on shampoo. Like they'll put it on things. No, I'm not even kidding. Like they'll do this, and people think, oh, it must be good. It's gluten free. It's shampoo. Like,
Yeah.
like first of all, don't worry about gluten if you're not eating it.
Right, right.
And to sit there and saying it's gluten free, it's not like other shampoos contain gluten. It's just it's just a marketing ploy.
Yeah, well,
And
it's interesting because I don't know if it was yesterday or the day before. For cooking and so forth, now I use avocado oil.
Mhm.
And the little, I don't know what it is, half liter, I guess, kind of bottle of avocado oil that I get, it's pure avocado oil, and it's about $10.
Mhm.
So my wife came home with a half gallon of avocado oil because I burn it up fast,
Mhm.
and I was really excited. Oh, this is cool! This is cool! And she said, "Yeah," and this one was only $10. And when she said that, I said,
That's not.
"That something's wrong."
Yeah.
So I looked at the label, and even with my glasses on, I couldn't read it. So I snapped a picture of it, and I asked ChatGPT, "Hey, is this are the ingredients in this okay for my current insulin resistance reversal?" It came up with I forget what seed oil it had all kinds of fillers in it, and it
Oh.
came up with a big capital no, and actually a red X, and no, don't use this. So on the front, though, the big picture on the front was an avocado cut in half, and it said avocado oil, but that's not really what
Yeah.
it was.
Like even if you go through like Libby's pure pumpkin, if you look on the back, it's not even pumpkin. I mean, I don't know how they like it's crazy, but they
It's pure
do
orange.
they do that a lot.
Colored.
Or even, for if you're trying to do away with sugars, for example, you want to go towards something more natural. So maybe stevia, monk fruit, something like that.
Right.
So if you go to like stevia and you go to like stevia in the raw or whatever, if you look at that, the main thing is I think maltodextrin or something like that. So usually that's a filler on a lot of these sugar substitutes, and that's worse than actual sugar.
Yeah.
So it's made from corn. Most of corn is GMO, and it's actually ups your insulin even more than just straight table sugar. So again, if you're going to do a sugar substitute, like I like stevia, but what I have is pure stevia.
Right.
You know, if you do the liquid, a lot of times it's in alcohol. They have ones in, you know, filtered water, but make sure you're looking on the back and you're not having alcohol, you're not having maltodextrin. Like that's definitely something you want to stay away from, and that's on a lot of sugar
If
substitutes.
you can't pronounce it, don't eat it.
No, no.
I think that's probably one of the number one falses that's on labels that says no sugar.
Yeah.
Okay? You go in there and there's all kinds of names that you can't even pronounce. That if you research it, it's basically
It's
sugar.
Yeah, the high fructose corn syrup is technically no sugar. I
Right.
mean, it's terrible for you, but it's, you know.
Yeah.
So I think anytime there's a hype, usually means that you wouldn't have had it otherwise. So, like you wouldn't have bought it otherwise, so they have to throw something on there
Right.
to make you buy it. Like another big hype is superfoods. What is that?
Oh, yeah.
The most nutritious thing on the planet is breast milk, and second is that is eggs. So if they're throwing something in some carton that says superfoods, it's crazy. The other thing that I see they do a lot, and you guys chime in, but they'll go, oh, this aspect of this fruit is good, therefore concentrated, this concentrated like super beets, concentrated to something.
Yeah, down into dust.
Yeah, and you know what I mean? Like something may be healthy, but it's always healthiest in its pure form.
Right.
You know, even fruit juice. Like if you're going to have a fruit, have the fruit. Fruit juice is already terrible for you because it's eliminating all the things that slow the insulin from, slow the sugar from spiking your insulin to these crazy high levels where, you know, if you have a glass of fruit juice, that might be the equivalent of sugar of, let's say, like 10 apples.
Yeah.
Like, who's going to eat 10 apples?
Right.
So you're throwing your whole body off and its satiety level off because you're giving it these frankenfoods. Like, yes, fruit juices is a frankenfood because nowhere in nature are these concentrated.
Yeah.
You know, I never understood why cleaning products have real lemon, and then when you buy lemon, it's made from concentrate.
That doesn't mean to go out and drink cleaning products.
No, but you know,
But
like,
yeah,
it's crazy.
And the healthier the food is, for some reason, the more expensive it is. So people that are on a tight budget end up eating the crap, which then gives them medical issues and so forth. So other things that I look at that are hype, and this might get me in trouble with some people, but are protein powders.
Oh yeah.
You know, you take the protein, maybe whey protein, maybe soy protein, and they I don't know how they concentrate it down, burn it down, nuke it down into dust, and then they feed it to you. But there's nothing left of the real proteins that whatever it was started with. And for men, you shouldn't eat any kind of soy-based product anyway, because soy will boost estrogen, and unless you want man boobs, don't eat soy. Same thing with protein bars. You know, protein bar is just a candy bar and a fancy wrapper. It's nothing special. I mean, they got chocolate chips in a protein bar.
Oh, I know.
You
And
know?
I mean, and the stuff they do to sell is like ridiculous. They'll be like, oh, it's only so many net carbs. So a lot of those are those sugar alcohol, which for a lot of people causes a lot of distress, you know, and then have runs or whatever. It's not digested normally, and your body doesn't know what to do with this stuff. So you have some sort of, it's very rare. Like I know what a lot of people do is they'll go down this hype of, oh, I want to start eating healthier. So then they're like, let me start reading labels. And again, most things that have a label aren't going to be the best, because it's the sales tactic, and you'll get something that you think, and you'll eat it, and you're probably you might feel better if you were coming from some horrible processed nasty diet. You'll start feeling a little bit better eating these things, but these are by no way optimal.
Right. I've never seen an ingredients label on an avocado.
No,
You know,
you're not going to
it's
have
just
that.
what it is.
No. And it's just it's a shame that they do this. And even some of the claims they make, like if it goes, oh, low fat. So usually if they're making some food and there's a low fat variety, it means there's higher sugars in there. And what we learned, or we should have learned from the last couple episodes, is sugars are your enemy when it comes to gaining fat. So low fat usually means high sugar, and therefore you'll get fat.
Right.
I mean, it's that's the cycle. So I don't like, there's very few things that I can't even imagine a circumstance where I'd want something low fat versus the regular variety.
Well, the fats is the whole thing that satiates you, and it's what, if you're eating a healthy, proper diet, you are using the fats for your energy, for your cells and so forth, not chowing down on a glucose candy bar and thinking that that's going to kick you off. So
Yeah.
if you're on a fat-based diet, which is what we were designed for, why go for low fat?
Yeah.
The whole myth about that, like we did in the last show, is it, and I fell for all of that. I mean, I 100% believed the whole
I
thing,
did too.
I think
but
that makes
it's all
three.
baloney.
Yeah.
Through you too.
I think so. I think when you see a lot of this promotion that we have removed this and we have removed that from natural foods, okay, and now we're charging you more money for it, okay, most of the stuff they have removed, we're finding out is the stuff they should have left in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, what are you going to remove from a steak? What are you going to remove from an egg? No,
Yeah.
you're going to leave that in. Well, you find it on other foods that are removing the good stuff, okay, because they have processed our heads into thinking that good stuff is no good,
Right.
and then they're charging us more.
Yeah, they have us believing that if it doesn't come in a box, that it's not good.
Yeah. Well, I think to your point, usually the big key thing is fortified. Anything fortified means that it's nutritionally depleted, and they're going to throw in some token, God knows what, some artificial vitamins to make something on the nutrition panel put some numbers there, because it'd probably be all zeros.
Right.
They take it out and then put a cheaper version back in.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things you said the other last episode was that there's no governmental agency that quantifies the amount of fiber you should have in a day. So this whole fiber thing is another
High fiber.
yeah,
high this.
total baloney again.
Yeah.
With the whole fiber thing, that there is no recommended daily allowance of wood chips.
No, no.
No.
I mean, the only thing that fiber is beneficial, like if you're eating a fruit, let's say an apple, it does contain fiber, and having the fiber in there does help with the sugars being absorbed slower in your system.
Right.
But if you're eating like a healthy diet, you don't need to add extra fibers. You don't need to keep track of fibers. You don't need things with fiber added and Metamucil and all this other stuff. And if you eliminate the sugars and the fruits, because that's pretty much what fruits are, they're primarily sugar, and you eliminate those fibers, they're not really necessary.
Right.
There's nothing in them that is required for any bodily function, basically.
Yeah.
So.
And we put out a short on the fiber thing, a little 30-second short the other day, titled it "Fiber is Crap," and
What it adds
basically,
to, yeah.
that's. But the thing with it is that with the hype, all these fiber pills and fiber this and fiber that, so that you'll theoretically clean yourself out faster. What is it that you've eaten that you need to clean out faster? If you're on a proper diet, in my case, it's a keto diet right now, leaning mostly towards the carnivore side. If you're on that type of diet, you don't need to run to the bathroom once or twice a day. You might go 3-4 days, but that's because, as you previously said, you're actually using what you're eating instead of kicking it out.
When you're on carnivore, like even after a big meal, you're full, but you're not like bloated.
Right.
I know when I first decided to eat healthier, I was into all these vegetables and eating all this stuff, and I at that point in time I weighed 92 pounds, so I was very thin. I went to the gym 2 hours a day. I was fit, I was muscular, but if I at the end of the day, my belly was, I had a six pack in the morning, but at the end of the day, it was just full because it was all this like fiber and stuff. And I actually was uncomfortable. Like at the end of the day, it was like your clothes were tight. You felt like you just didn't feel good. And when you cut down on the fiber and that stuff, you actually feel healthier all parts of the day, not just when you wake up, not just after the bathroom, and because your body's, most of what you're eating, your body's using, which is ideal.
Right.
You know,
And that's the goal, is to eat the stuff your body needs.
yeah.
Right.
I mean, I can't imagine anyone promoting let's eat a diet with the most waste product. Like that seems,
But that's what's being promoted.
but that's what's being promoted, which makes no sense.
And then you go, to the Golden Arches style restaurant. I don't want to use the name, but when you're eating what they call food there, and it never goes bad and bugs won't eat it,
Yeah.
maybe it's not the healthiest diet. And it's kind of scary that the bugs won't eat it, because they eat everything, but they won't eat that.
Yeah.
I remember a day going way back where I would still eat a donut now and again. And somebody gave us a box of, and I will use the name, Krispy Kreme donuts.
Those are my favorite, by the way.
And
Don't trash them too
they were
much.
on the counter in our house in their box for 2 or 3 weeks, and they still hadn't gone bad.
That I didn't know.
Okay.
I don't eat them anymore anyway, but
I think it was the sugar that was in them, the way it was keeping them.
oh, they're just pure
So
sugar.
We are trained so much in the wrong ways.
Oh yeah.
And we believe that the government is protecting us, that labels are real. And the more and more research we do, we find more and more those labels are more deceptive than real.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that they're becoming more deceptive because people are figuring it out. People are figuring it out, and they need to change the wording so that, you got to do more research to figure out what the next word means, and it's deceitful.
I think some things I want to bring up are things that are good to look for. So,
Yes.
like, for example, like in meats, grass-fed, why that's advantageous is basically if it's grass-fed, they're eating their natural diet, which is what they're meant to eat. And when especially if it's, organic, all that stuff, basically they're not filled with all these pesticides and hormones. They're eating that stuff, and therefore the meat is healthier.
Right.
So it has more omega-3s, which is what you want, versus omega-6s. When they're instead substituted with a corn diet, a lot of times, you'll have all these people, these environmental people saying, they're methane gas but that's what it is. They're these sick cows that are just basically like farting up a storm, causing all this gas.
Yeah.
Because they're eating like when you get really gassy, is that after a good meal? That's after something that was nasty for you to eat, and your body's like having problems with it.
Right.
So, that's something that is good to look for. Grass-fed, organic, meats on the
Same with your eggs. My eggs that we purchase now are non-caged.
You have to pasteurize.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. On the eggs themselves. Because I actually saw not to get off the subject a little bit, but there was a thing. I think I saw it on Facebook or something, so it has to be true.
Careful, we're on it.
There was a farmer, and farmer meaning he raised chickens. But this was a number of years ago. He was raising chickens, and it would take 18 months for a chicken to go from egg to where you could then, slaughter the
Relay it?
chicken,
Oh, okay.
slaughter the chicken and get the chicken meat. They're now at 6 weeks
Oh my God.
from egg to full-grown chicken. How many hormones and what kind of massive amounts of growth hormone stuff are they pumping into those things, and then we eat it?
Yeah.
It's the same thing. Our groundwater. When you think of a hospital, okay, and a hospital, you got every med you can think of being pumped into people, and the people use the bathroom, and then it goes to the wastewater treatment plant. The wastewater treatment plant does not remove chemicals. It kills bacteria and purifies the water that way. Then most wastewater treatment plants allow the water to go out, and then it goes down into the aquifer, all filled with the chemicals from all of the pills and everything that people have been eating. So our whole diet, the soils, the water, everything is messed up.
Yeah.
We have to take our time and be aware of what we're drinking.
Yeah.
Which all that brings me around to bottled water. A lot of bottled water is just tap water.
Oh yeah.
And tap water comes, it's filled with all the stuff. There's no special like reverse osmosis filtering or whatever. But even with that, you don't want to drink pure reverse osmosis water all the time because it's void of everything except for the water molecule. So you have to be careful on all of this stuff. But some things are better. I would rather drink a reverse osmosis water or purified water. I'm not going to drink tap water. So bottled water, maybe bottled water that's in a bottle, not in a plastic bottle, is far more healthier for you than drinking tap water.
Yeah, or you could get a good filter. I mean, they sell, I know on Amazon I got this thing called Berkeley, or I think it's Berkey or Berkeley, something like that.
It's close to that.
And supposedly their whole thing is like if you're camping, you could actually take some dirty creek muddy water and put it through there, and they have this insane filtration system that will give you clean drinking water. So it has a good filter system, and they're expensive to replace the filters, but I'm not saying you have to get that, but sometimes it's better off just, drinking your own filtered water that you're monitoring that the filters are clean and it's actually filtered. But I want to circle back to your egg thing, because the whole point is you do want pasture raised, but I think people this is again a marketing thing, is the cage free. Cage free means nothing.
Yeah.
They could be thrown into basically a huge building with a little door, to maybe gets that none of them even fit through, but they're there's no cages in there. That doesn't mean they're healthier. That's a big thing. And if you actually buy a traditional egg versus a pastured, organic egg, the yolks are orange, like almost like blood orange when it's pasture raised. And the reason is why, the same thing with the meat, you're getting more omega-3s, just like when you get wild caught salmon versus farm salmon. If you notice, that salmon's bright red because it has a lot more of those healthy fats, a lot more vitamins.
Yes.
And because the reason too you want these healthy fats actually, there's vitamins that are fat soluble, which means they have to be in fat for for you to even get them or absorb them. So removing all fat is detrimental in a lot of different ways.
Yeah, it is. And interesting you say that. Years ago, when I lived up in Maine, we had a couple of pet snowy white ducks. For some reason, we had this thing in school where we had an incubator and we had duck eggs and we hatched them, whatever. Then they had to figure out what to do with the ducks. So I took 2 of them home. And they lived for a number of years. And we had this little doghouse thing with a heat lamp in it because, when it got 20 below outside, they weren't thrilled with that. So they had this area. And we had a little garden beside it. And whenever something would fall on the ground or get a bruised or a worm in it or whatever, we'd throw it into the duck pen and the ducks would eat it. Well, after several years and the ducks passed away, the year after the ducks had passed away, we had the best garden in the duck pen.
Really?
Because they didn't digest the seeds. So we had amazing stuff. And the colors of the fruits themselves versus I guess, I don't know what they were that we were planting, but like a tomato that came out of the duck pen was, like you mentioned, deep red. Yeah. Whereas the tomatoes that we actually were growing from the seeds in the garden, even though they were the same seeds supposedly, They didn't come through all the same manure and everything that was
Yeah.
in the duck pen. They were a light pink. They were reddish, but they weren't nothing like the same. So, like you're saying with the yolks, you can tell healthy food versus,
Oh yeah.
processed food just by looking at it, just by the colors.
Oh, totally.
It's true.
Totally. And there was something you mentioned that I totally forgot.
Well, one of the other things you just mentioned about was the salmon
Oh,
and
yeah.
the difference in the colors of the salmon and
Yeah.
so
Mhm.
forth. When you see a package that says Atlantic salmon, there's no such thing as Atlantic salmon. That's farm raised in nets that are in the ocean. They have these massive nets that are acres and acres and acres big, and they got crowded in with, massive amounts of salmon in these nets, and then they blast all kinds of whatever salmon feed is.
Yeah.
They're not eating anything natural. They're not swimming and getting the exercise. They're not doing anything that a regular salmon will do. And then if you buy some Atlantic salmon and get some sockeye salmon from Alaska, real wild,
Oh, yeah.
and you
Big
put them side by side, one, like you just said, is a deep pinkish red, and the farm raised is a washed out pink. The meat, if you look at the texture of the meats and everything, the farm raised one's like falling apart jello,
Yeah.
and the real one is a fibrous meat.
Yeah. And then the other thing is, what was I going to say? The catchphrase for that, if you're out on restaurants, looking for meats or whatever, is sustainably raised.
Oh yeah,
That means it's farmed. It's not out in the wild. That's the catchphrase to look for.
Yeah.
So sustainable farm. They try to make it like they're doing this great ecological thing for you when
Right.
actually they're just trying to,
Yeah.
give you this bad meat.
It's bad
basically.
This goes back to what this whole thing is about deception.
Yes, yes.
Really,
It's
that's
all
it.
deception.
And until you get to hear these kinds of conversations, the average person is not going to know what the difference.
No, they
or
don't know.
Why would I not believe when it says Atlantic salmon that it's
It's farm
pure?
raised.
It's just a regular. Why
Yeah.
would I not believe that? Because they've allowed to put it on the label, right?
Well, it was grown in the Atlantic Ocean,
Right.
But it's not a wild. It's not a natural salmon.
Yeah, it's not swimming, and I
Yeah.
think the other thing that I think people need to be informed, obviously, and do their homework, but then also, understand kind of some of these marketing ploys that they use. That I'm trying to think. Like I was saying with the gluten free, they're like, oh, gluten, but then that's just one of the detrimental things of wheat. So a lot of times they'll substitute that with, let's say, corn. So corn is gluten free, but most of corn is GMO.
Oh, right.
So I think to Mike's point, I think the problem is when you have stuff that's, let's say, organic or it's made with no pesticides and hormone free, that these companies actually have to spend money to certify these things and go through all this hoops to get this basically certification that food is actually prepared the way nature's intended.
Right.
And then these people that are bastardizing these seeds or animals and treating them badly and GMOs, they get actually subsidized by the government, and that's what's keeping the costs down.
Well, speaking on the organic thing, even that is twisted around. The video that I mentioned that I watched earlier on the chickens, which are 6 weeks old, full grown. They come from a special company to these farms that want to call themselves organic. So they're not putting in any antibiotics or growth hormones at the farm.
It's all
But-
before they get to the farm.
No, it's the food. You have to buy the food from the company that supplied you with these chicken eggs.
That's like the nature of a GMO, basically.
Yeah, it's the same. It's the
A
same
genetically
thing.
modified
right?
chicken.
It is exactly the same, and you have to feed it that food, and you aren't putting in any antibiotics or any hormones. You aren't doing anything at your organic farm that would lose your organic label, but you're feeding them a feed that is pumped up with it that they're not telling you what's in the feed, so you can honestly say, I don't know what's in the feed.
Oh, that's
And
just deceptive. Even with the
yes.
even with the pasture raised, they're doing this thing now where they'll raise it on a pasture, and then before they slaughter it, they feed it all this crap.
They pump it up.
So
yeah.
it gets all fat. So now you have to buy like grass fed, grass finished.
Grass-fed, grass-finished.
Yeah, which is a thing, But it's sad that they do this. But even with these chickens, like they'll go, oh, all vegetarian feed. And to what you brought up too is chickens are not vegetarians.
Right.
So,
chickens used to be raptors in dinosaur days.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're carnivores.
My aunt has chickens. She doesn't even feed it. They're like the cats of, like they find worms, they find bugs, they'll eat the stuff in the grass, and she has eggs coming out of her ears, and they're nice orange yolks, real healthy eggs, and they're just not meant to eat this stuff.
Yeah, I had to learn early in this walk here about organic, because I used to use a lot of honey.
Oh, yeah.
Say organic. And then I read how far the bees would travel to pick up the pollen they needed to actually produce. And if you don't have your bee farm in the middle of your farm, and it is at least, I don't know, it was close to 3 miles.
Right.
Okay, before they get out of your area, you can't guarantee that honey's going to be organic.
No. In fact, there was a thing, again, I think I probably saw it on Facebook, so it has to be true, I forget where it was. I think it was England or somewhere. I don't know where it was. But anyway, the honey was blue or purple. I forget. It was some odd color that the honey was at this beekeepers, all the beekeepers in that area. They were getting these blue honey. And they couldn't figure out why the honey was blue. And so they somehow traced where the bees were going. I don't know. They put little GPS on a bee's back. I don't know how they did it. But the thing is that they found out it was going to a candy factory.
Oh, God.
And the waste from the candy factory, which was colored blue, was a sugar water. And they were eating that and coming back and producing blue honey.
Yeah. And even with honey, I think people think, oh, they'll see at the supermarket. If you're getting at the supermarket, it's crap.
Oh, that's high fructose corn syrup.
It's just garbage.
Caramelized.
Like, I'm not a big honey person. I mean, it's bee vomit is what it is.
Right.
That's what it is. But if you're into bee vomit and you want to eat it, at least go to a local, bee farmer. And if you're like, oh, is the such and such a bee farmer? Odds are no. Unless you know the farm and the bee,
Yeah, the little teddy bear in the grocery store.
No, that's not pure honey, despite what it says. And things like pure or natural, or the thing is, there's no government regulation as to what this is. So they're really free to say a lot of stuff on there.
Right.
And even some claims that I know they do, which I just want to, sometimes they'll go like 50% less sodium. So you're picking up this thing and you're like, oh, it's 50% less sodium. But then if you look, if it has a claim, then it has to have what's called a disclaimer, which means it actually says what that claim is. So half the time it's a claim against their own product. So they'll say 50% less sodium than our whatever variety. So they could have a variety that's double the amount of salt as all the others, and then make one half. It still could have a higher salt content than any of their, competitors. But again, this is all tactics and marketing, and I've done it for labels. I mean, that's what they do. That's simply what they do. And even when they show pictures of food, most of the stuff isn't even pictures of their own food. There's photographers that make this.
Oh, make this stuff up.
Yeah, like for ice cream, a lot of times it's like mashed potatoes and colored.
With Elmer's glue dripping down it.
Well, how can you sit there and do a 3-hour photo shoot with melting ice cream?
Right.
So
it's going to get worse now, too, with AI. You can do all kinds of things. And it looks as real can be.
Yeah. And they used to have that even with soups that, they'd be like, oh, they pour soup into a bowl and they used to put like marbles underneath the broth so that all of a sudden all the pieces would look like, oh, it's this chunky soup, and you get it and it's like as liquid as can be, and maybe there's like a a little bit of a celery stalk that you finally get out of there, but it's like, what, how did this picture equal that? And that's what they did. So there's a lot of different tactics that they use to make things.
It's marketing.
Yeah, a lot of it is
I
marketing.
think one of the most difficult things that the general public has to is it hurts them when they try to find the good stuff, the healthy stuff.
Yeah.
It's the cost.
Yeah.
Okay, it's usually quite substantially more than the stuff that we now are knowing is not healthy.
But
And it hurts, the average person. It can really hurt their budget when they're going and trying to make things right.
my argument is you either pay for it now or you're going to pay for it later.
Right. Right. The medical bills are gonna.
You're gonna pay for it
just,
one way or another.
Yep.
And one way is gonna give you enjoyment of life, and the other one is just gonna be.
And the sad thing is that there's a lot of foods and additives here in the United States that other countries won't allow.
Oh, I know.
Exactly.
Like even coffee, which is like the #1 exported product globally. If other countries reject it, guess where it gets sent? Because we have no standards. So it could have mold, it could have pet, like
Right.
they don't care,
Yeah. It's terrible.
and it's also like to your point too, like a lot of times when people are, they're looking and cost might be a factor, but you don't have to buy, like if you're looking to, let's say, go carnivore, you're better off getting a good, cheap ground beef, even if it isn't grass fed, even if it is that's still going to be better than something from a box.
Yes.
Because it's going to have way less.
But don't use Hamburger Helper.
No, exactly. Then you just defeated it. But I'm saying, like, even if you eat lower quality, let's say, meats and stuff like that, the food itself, just in general, is going to be more naturally nutritious than its counterparts in grains and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, like even like I said, eggs are one of the most nutritious. You could still, even if you just ate eggs all day long, you're probably going to be better. It might be boring as can be, but you're going to be in way better health than your average person.
And the nice thing is you can have bacon with it.
Exactly.
As long as it's not maple cured or anything like that.
Yeah.
But you can have bacon.
And you'd be shocked, especially with meats and bacon included, how many add sugar. I don't know why you'd add sugar to meat.
Oh, that's what I was saying, that this maple cured bacon and stuff
But even
like
the
that.
regular, even if you just do regular bacon, almost all of them have sugar. If it doesn't say no sugar on the label, odds are it has some sort of sugar on there.
That's crazy.
Which is sad. Very
Yeah,
sad.
they make all this sugar. They got to dump it someplace, I guess.
Yeah.
I guess. But we are running out of time. Hard to believe that we it goes by so fast.
It does. It really does.
And in the description this week, we're going to starting this week, we're going to start putting recipes to different things. So if you're watching the video today, take a look through the description and you will find a healthy recipe. You might have to source your own products for it that are healthy to make whatever it is we're going to put in there, but it's a way to increase your health. So next week, what are we doing?
I think we're going to talk about fasting. I think that'll be good because I think there's a lot of myths and stuff. Alan just transformed his whole health with, his fast. My longest fast was actually 41 days. Was a water fast.
So you just wanted to one up Jesus, didn't you?
It was funny. I said that. I was just kidding around and I said that, and then all these bad things started happening in my life. So
all
I
right.
don't say that anymore. I don't say that anymore.
Okay, I'll take that back.
Jesus is king. So, yeah. I just, what happened was I was going to do the 40, and then I kind of lost track of, was day one the day I started, or was day one after I finished day one? So I just went the extra to make sure I did the 40.
Well, I have a hard time fasting, so I'm going to rely on you two to help keep me honest.
Yeah, there's
We're
definitely
going to do something here.
there's definitely tricks that make it easier.
Yeah. Like you had actually mentioned to me when I was doing my 72-hour fast, my first fast, you said if you get hungry, take a bite out of a stick of butter.
Mm-hmm.
And I got hungry early on to it. As it went on, the hunger went away.
Yeah,
but early on, and I did. I didn't take a bite out of the stick. I actually cut it off the stick. But but the fat satiated me,
Yeah, and
and it
you
works.
Yeah, and it doesn't throw off the ketones or
Right.
any of that blood
Actually,
sugar.
it builds up the ketones.
Yeah. So there's definitely hopefully we'll help you with we'll go through with what fasting helps, some tricks about it, and if you have any questions, write them in. We're more than happy to cover them. And
Yeah, please put into comments whatever questions you'd like, and let's make this a learning experience for everybody.
Exactly.
All right. So we don't have a little tricky outro thing like you have in different shows, so we got to come up with something.
Yeah.
But
I guess just be your best.
yeah, there you go. Eat healthy and be your best. We'll see you later, everybody.